Have you ever realized you're not stuck because of your circumstances? You're stuck because your vision is too small. I've met hundreds of people over the years who have come to me with this deep desire burning inside them. They tell me they want to completely transform their lives, to become richer in every sense of the word, to live in a way that truly honors the potential they feel deep down they deserve. But then, almost like clockwork, they take a hard look at their current reality and start listing all the reasons why it can't happen. They say things like, I don't have enough money to even begin, or I'm just not good enough at this, or I lack the right connections to make it work, or even I'm simply not one of those lucky people who catches breaks. And in that moment, without even realizing it, they shrink their entire future down to fit neatly within those self-imposed limits. But here's the thing, those limits aren't really binding them from the outside, they're binding themselves from within, choosing to let those barriers define what's possible. There's this harsh, undeniable truth that I learned early on in my own journey through life, after facing my own share of setbacks and doubts. If your vision isn't exponentially bigger than the limits you perceive right now, those limits will win every single time, and they'll keep winning forever, trapping you in a cycle of mediocrity. You end up judging your entire future based solely on what you have in the present moment. The job that's just okay, the bank account that's barely scraping by, the daily grind that feels inescapable, but you forget something crucial. The future doesn't emerge from the constraints of your present, it springs forth from the bold, vivid image you dare to hold in your mind every single day, nurturing it like a flame that refuses to be extinguished. I've encountered so many individuals who started from absolute rock bottom, broke, filled with self-doubt, completely overlooked by society and even by their own circles, but they all share this one powerful commonality. They carried a vision so grand, so all-encompassing, that it burned away every excuse they could have used to quit. That's precisely why I want you to pause right here and ask yourself this probing question. The vision you're currently chasing, does it truly align with the immense potential that's lying dormant within you, or is it just barely big enough to keep you feeling safe and comfortable without any real risk? Because let me tell you, a small vision inevitably leads to a small, unfulfilling life, one that's safe but stagnant. On the flip side, a big, audacious vision paves the way for a big, vibrant life full of growth and achievement. And I urge you to stick around until the very end of this video, because Principle 7 is going to hit you like a ton of bricks, forcing you to question every single limit you've unconsciously accepted as fact in your life. The journey to unlocking your true potential starts right here, right now. Vision must be larger than any limits you face. Principle 1, vision must be bigger than where you stand today. It's so easy to get caught up in the immediacy of everything around you, the familiar room you're sitting in, perhaps cluttered with reminders of your daily routine, your current paycheck that covers the bills but leaves little room for dreams, that bank account that's not quite full enough to give you peace of mind, and the weight of responsibilities that make you feel like you're anchored in place, unable to move forward. That's the tangible reality you inhabit day in and day out. But the most pivotal question you can ask yourself isn't about where you are right now, it's about where you're headed, what direction your life is pointed toward. I've heard countless people utter phrases like, when I finally have more money saved up, that's when I'll start pursuing my passions. Or once I get better at this skill or that, then I'll chase my dreams with everything I've got, or I'll change my life as soon as the timing feels right and everything aligns perfectly. But deep down, you know the truth. The right time doesn't just magically appear on its own. You have to create it through action and intention. Need some proof to back that up? Take a moment to reflect back on your life 5 or even 10 years ago. What were you waiting for back then? And where's that waiting gotten you now? Has it brought you closer to your goals, or has it just prolonged the status quo? I once met a man who was stuck in a simple, repetitive job, living out the same monotonous day over and over again, like a loop he couldn't escape. He wasn't lazy by any means. He wasn't incompetent or lacking in basic skills. He was just unable to see anything beyond the narrow confines of what was immediately in front of him. His vision was limited to mere survival, not to thriving or expanding. When the factory where he worked suddenly shut down, his entire life seemed to shut down with it, not because he inherently lacked the ability to adapt or reinvent himself, but because his vision had only ever been big enough to sustain the bare minimum, not to foster real growth or resilience. Today's limits, whatever they may be, are not the definitive end of your story, but they will become the end if you allow your future to be framed and confined by your current circumstances. You must summon the courage to look beyond the walls that surround you right now, to imagine a life that's far greater, more expansive than anything you currently possess or experience. Vision isn't merely a reflection of your present situation, it's the compelling picture of the future that refuses to let you remain complacent or still. And here's something fascinating about vision. It doesn't have to be perfectly logical, crystal clear from the outset, or even believed in by anyone else around you. It just needs to be big enough, bold enough to compel you to stand up and take action every single day, no matter how small those steps might seem. Think about the people throughout history who rose from poverty, with no formal education, no influential connections, yet they built empires, careers, and lives that the world now admires and studies. They didn't sit around waiting for resources to magically appear before forming their vision. Instead, their unwavering vision created the resources they needed, attracting opportunities and support as they move forward. The day you start believing, truly believing, that you don't have to live within these limits forever, that's the day a new door begins to creak open, revealing possibilities you never imagined. You might protest and say, but I genuinely don't know where or how to start. It all feels overwhelming. And to that I say, that's not the real problem at all. The only true problem is, do you dare to start anyway, despite the uncertainty? If you commit to expanding your vision just a little bit every day, maybe by reading one more page of an inspiring book, learning one new skill that pushes your boundaries, meeting someone who's further along the path than you are, or choosing one positive habit and sticking with it relentlessly, those seemingly small actions, when tethered to a grand vision, will propel you to places that even your current self can't fully comprehend or envision. Vision isn't something passive to admire from afar, it's something active to chase with passion and persistence. So, are you actively lifting your vision higher than where you stand right now? Do you dare to see yourself in a better, bolder, more successful place than you've ever been? Because if you can't see it clearly in your mind's eye, you'll never reach it in reality. If your vision is truly bigger than your present circumstances, it will do something truly special. It will awaken a dormant energy within you, an energy you might not even know you possess. And that brings us to principle 2. Vision creates your energy. Have you ever stopped to wonder why some days you wake up feeling absolutely full of life, charged with an unstoppable motivation that carries you through whatever comes your way, while on other days you just want to pull the covers over your head and stay in bed, even when you're not physically exhausted? Your true power, your inner drive, doesn't stem from your physical muscles or from what you already have in terms of material possessions or achievements. It comes directly from the vivid picture of the future that you hold steadfast in your mind, replaying it like a movie that inspires you. If every morning you wake up with the sole goal of just getting through the day, surviving until bedtime, it's no wonder you run out of energy so quickly. Your body and mind simply can't generate sustained energy from a place of boredom or mere routine. But contrast that with someone who's actively chasing a meaningful dream. They stay up late into the night working on their goals without a single complaint. They wake up early feeling alive and purposeful. They handle immense pressure without cracking under it. Why is that? It's because their vision acts as a constant fuel source, replenishing them every single day, turning what could be drudgery into excitement. I once met a young man who confided in me saying, "Jim, I feel completely drained all the time. I've tried sleeping more, taking breaks, even vacations, but nothing seems to help recharge me." I asked him a simple yet revealing question. What makes you get up tomorrow morning? What deeper purpose makes you keep going when things get tough? He fell silent, unable to answer, and in that silence, the truth emerged. Sometimes we're not truly tired in the physical sense, we're just living without a compelling something to move toward, without a North Star guiding us. You can rely on coffee or energy drinks to stay awake for a few hours, but only a powerful vision can awaken you for a lifetime, infusing every moment with meaning. Here's the most impressive part about this dynamic. When you cultivate a strong vision, your body and mind start adapting to match it, transforming in ways you might not expect. You find yourself studying harder than ever before, stepping boldly out of your comfort zone, tackling tougher challenges than you did yesterday, always looking for innovative ways forward instead of defaulting to excuses. Why? Because you refuse to betray the future you've already vividly seen and committed to in your imagination. Ask yourself honestly, what makes you get up tomorrow morning? If the answer is something as mundane as to pay the bills, then your energy will only last long enough to cover those bills, leaving you depleted for anything more. But if the answer is I get up to build a life I'm genuinely proud of, one that reflects my true capabilities, then your energy will shift dramatically, almost instantly. It might not feel huge at first, but every small action you take to nurture that vision will elevate your energy levels a little more each day, building momentum. You're not inherently out of energy, you're just out of compelling reasons to keep pushing forward with enthusiasm. So here's a question for you to ponder: what vision makes you jump out of bed tomorrow morning with excitement? Have you taken the time to write it down yet, to make it tangible? But energy alone, as vital as it is, isn't sufficient to bring your dreams to fruition. A vision only becomes reality when it's underpinned by consistent discipline. And when that discipline is guided by a clear vision, it ceases to be a burdensome chore and instead becomes a wise, strategic investment in your future self. That's why we have principle 3. Vision gives meaning to discipline. You know what causes most people to quit halfway through their pursuits? It's not a lack of time, though that's a common excuse. It's not a lack of innate talent, though many blame that it's not even a lack of opportunities, which can seem scarce. They quit because they don't have a reason, a vision big enough to compel them to persevere through the inevitable hardships. When you try to wake up early but have no clear idea why you're forcing yourself out of bed, every alarm clock ring becomes an adversary you resent. When you need to study more, train harder, or save more diligently, but there's no inspiring future worth aiming for, every effort feels utterly meaningless and draining. That's the point where discipline morphs into a heavy burden, something you dread rather than embrace. But imagine if you had a vivid, compelling vision waiting for you just ahead, everything changes in an instant. You no longer wake up early because you have to. It's some obligation. You wake up early because the future is calling you forward with urgency. You no longer work out just to alleviate guilt over past indulgences. You work out to build the strength needed for the extraordinary life you're constructing. You no longer save money out of a fear of scarcity. You save to purchase true freedom and options later on. Discipline shifts from being a question of how long do I have to endure this to a powerful statement, I do this willingly to become worthy of the person I'm meant to be. I once met a man who was desperate to overhaul his finances, to break free from the cycle of living paycheck to paycheck. He confided, "Jim, I hate tracking my expenses. It's so tedious and restricting." I responded, "You don't really hate the tracking itself. You just don't love your vision of financial freedom enough yet to make it worthwhile." See, when your vision is robust and alive, discipline feels surprisingly light, almost effortless. When your vision is weak or vague, however, discipline can feel like pure torture, something to avoid at all costs. You can cut back on many things in life, spending distractions, even relationships that don't serve you, but never shrink your vision just to accommodate the laziness or complacency of today. Remember, limits only gain power when your vision is feeble. Discipline only stings when the future remains unclear. The day you discover something truly worth pursuing with all your heart is the day you look at discipline and declare, "I'm embracing this because I know precisely where I'm headed, and it's worth every effort." Here's a challenge for you. If the future you dream of hinges on your discipline today, what specific action will you start right now to build that momentum? However, no matter how disciplined you become, limits will always arise to test your resolve, challenging you at every turn. And when they do, it's your vision that ultimately decides whether you halt in your tracks or press onward with renewed determination. That's why we need Principle 4, vision turns limits into starting points. Everyone, without exception, faces limits in their current abilities, limits in financial resources, limits in available time, limits in opportunities that seem to come easily to others. But the key difference between those who ultimately succeed and those who give up isn't the size or severity of their limits, it's how they choose to respond to them. Many people, when confronted with difficulty, immediately default to defeatist statements like, "I can't do this, I'm not ready yet," or "I don't have enough to even begin." And what happens? They allow the limit to become the absolute end, a full stop to their progress. But I've also witnessed countless individuals who do the exact opposite. They stare down the limit and boldly declare, "I'll start from right here with what I have." That's the transformative power of vision in action. I once knew a young woman who harbored a burning dream of launching her own business, something that would allow her to create impact on her terms. No one in her family believed it was feasible. She had no substantial money saved, no powerful connections to leverage, no experienced mentor to guide her. But she possessed one invaluable asset, a crystal clear picture of the life she wanted to build, one filled with purpose and independence. She began with her modest savings, jotting ideas in a simple notebook, dedicating late nights to self-education after her day job. The limits didn't vanish overnight, but her vision proved bigger than her fears, bigger than the judgments of others, bigger than every rational reason to throw in the towel. And then something almost magical unfolded. Opportunities started materializing, meaningful relationships formed, necessary resources emerged, and an inner strength she didn't know she had surfaced. Not because of blind luck, but because her vision acted like a magnet, pulling in what she needed as she persisted. In my own life, I've learned that limits don't truly block your path unless you choose to stand still in front of them. The more you move forward with conviction, the more those limits recede into the background. The more you dare to advance despite them, the more your limits transform from roadblocks into mere starting lines for your next chapter of growth. The most dangerous mistake you can make is allowing today's limits to dictate the scale of your tomorrow. If you wait for all struggles to resolve before pursuing your vision, you'll be waiting indefinitely. Here's a challenge for you. From everything you feel you lack right now, select one limit you're ready to reframe as a starting point today. What will it be, and how will you begin? But to effectively turn every limit into a launching pad for progress, you need one more essential element: the willingness to make sacrifices, understanding that what you relinquish today becomes the very step that elevates you higher tomorrow. That's what we'll delve into with Principle 5, vision turns sacrifice into growth. Everyone aspires to a better life, one with more fulfillment, success, and joy, but not everyone is prepared to pay the requisite price for it. The distinction between those who rise above their circumstances and those who remain stuck isn't found in their end results, but in what they're willing to trade or forego along the way. No one inherently enjoys sacrifice, giving up precious leisure time, stepping away from familiar comforts, surrendering short-term freedoms, or breaking free from easy but ultimately harmful habits. But a strong vision performs something miraculous. It reframes every sacrifice as a profitable investment in your future, one that yields compounded returns. I once spoke with a young man who expressed his desire for greater success and achievement, yet he clung tightly to his habit of scrolling endlessly online every evening. He explained, "Jim, that's how I unwind after a long day. It's my relaxation." I challenged him with, "Then why can't you find relaxation within the life you dream of building?" He had no response, falling into thoughtful silence. You see, it's not the act of sacrifice itself that causes pain, it's the absence of a clear purpose behind it. If you know exactly what you're striving toward, a body brimming with energy, a career that fills you with pride, finances that afford you genuine freedom, a better version of yourself overall, then every minute diverted from distractions isn't a loss, it's you actively purchasing your future, brick by brick. Let me share a hard truth with you. If the path you've chosen hasn't yet demanded some form of sacrifice from you, it probably doesn't lead to anywhere truly worthwhile. Real strength, the kind that endures, isn't forged in moments of ease and comfort. It's born when you identify something worth fighting for more than your immediate laziness or desires. It's born when you affirm, I'm willing to put in the hard work today so that I can stand tall and proud tomorrow. You'll be astonished to discover that every time you choose vision over fleeting comfort, you experience instantaneous growth, becoming stronger and more capable. Here's a challenge for you. Identify one thing you know deep down you need to release to move closer to the life you envision. What will you sacrifice starting today, and how will that propel you forward? But here's another layer to the sacrifice is merely the entry point to manifest your vision. You must cultivate new skills within yourself, continuously upgrading who you are to match the demands of your dreams. And that's principle 6, vision demands new skills. When you embrace a big vision, it will inevitably require a new version of you, smarter, stronger, more adept, and better equipped to handle what's ahead. Many people proclaim they want extraordinary success, but they insist on retaining all their current habits and skill sets they crave more without committing to becoming more. That's fundamentally impossible. You can't stride into a new future armed only with outdated skills. I once met a man who dreamed passionately of starting his own business, yet he steadfastly refused to learn the basics of money management. When I inquired, "Why won't you invest time in learning that?" he replied, "Jim, I'm not good with numbers. I hate dealing with spreadsheets." I countered, "Then what will become of your business if you continue hating them and avoiding the knowledge?" Vision operates like a tough but compassionate teacher, insisting, if you want to go further, master this. If you aim to reach higher, conquer that. Without acquiring new skills, your vision remains confined to the realm of imagination, never materializing into reality. Even in our rapidly evolving world, top CEOs are diving into learning about AI, students are honing advanced communication skills, and employees are shifting from merely following orders to creating tangible value. The pace of change is so accelerated that if you haven't learned something new in the past 6 months, the world has effectively advanced 3 years ahead without you. Your vision will perpetually push you toward unfamiliar territories, delivering a speech despite fearing public speaking, mastering finance even if numbers daunt you, training your body rigorously even if workouts have always been your nemesis, or building relationships despite preferring solitude. Not because these are easy, but because vision won't permit you to stagnate. Ask yourself, the person you aspire to become, what skills do they possess that you currently lack? If something is holding you back, don't resist, learn to transcend it. One new skill acquired today can translate into a massive leap forward tomorrow. Here's a challenge for you. Select one skill your future self requires and commit to beginning your learning journey this week. What will it be? But remember, skills, discipline, and vision will all face rigorous testing when obstacles inevitably arise, for obstacles serve as the ultimate exam of your vision's authenticity. That's principle 7, obstacles test your commitment. Every vision worth pursuing will encounter resistance. That's not a signal you're on the wrong path, quite the contrary. It's evidence that your vision is vibrant, alive, and expanding. If you want to gauge the strength of a dream, simply start pursuing it and observe how swiftly obstacles manifest. When you resolve to save money, an unforeseen bill suddenly appears when you commit to working out. Your body aches in protest when you decide to acquire a new skill. Your schedule inexplicably fills up when you launch a business. Doubt creeps in from those closest to you. Obstacles don't arrive to permanently block you. They come to probe whether you're genuinely serious about your pursuit. I once knew a man who aimed to end his business significantly. He had a solid plan, abundant energy, and unwavering belief until he slammed into 3 major hurdles consecutively. Clients delayed payments, operational costs skyrocketed, and partners questioned the venture's viability. Everyone around him advised, "You should stop, these are ominous signs." But he turned to me and said, "Jim, if I back down now over this, how could I possibly deserve the dream I'm chasing?" And he persevered. The outcome, his business not only survived, but flourished beyond expectations. Failure isn't defined by falling down, it's defined by accepting that your limits are insurmountable and staying down. Obstacles aren't impenetrable walls, they're doors that test if you're committed enough to push through. If you only cling to your vision during easy times, that's not true vision. It's a fragile wish. You must cultivate the bravery to ask, do I still believe in this when the going gets tough? That's the pivotal moment when your vision evolves into unshakable faith. Here's a challenge for you. When the next obstacle emerges, how will you respond, by quitting or by standing firm and affirming, I'm here for a reason far bigger than this temporary fear? And then, one day, you'll notice an incredible phenomenon. Overcoming challenges in one area infuses energy and confidence into every other facet of your life, allowing your vision to elevate your entire existence. That's principle 8. Vision elevates every area of life. When you expand your vision in one domain, you'll be amazed at how it spills over, uplifting all others. Raise your standards in finances, and suddenly you're elevating them in health and relationships too. Dream bigger in your career, and you begin speaking, dressing, and acting like the future version of yourself. When you internalize that you deserve a superior life, you cease tolerating mediocrity in any form. Vision acts like a rising tide, lifting every boat in your harbor simultaneously. I once met a man whose initial goal was modest, simply to escape debt's grip. That became his starting vision. He immersed himself in money management, eliminated waste, and optimized his work efficiency. But then, magic unfolded. His confidence surged, he assumed greater responsibilities at work, his health improved dramatically, and his relationships deepened. He confided, Jim, I began changing solely for financial reasons, but everything else transformed too. A potent vision in one area can ignite a cascade of upgrades across your entire life. When you view yourself as worthy of more, you start showing up accordingly, with greater confidence in speech, clarity in decisions, prioritization of what matters, and attraction to superior company. You can't harbor a grand future image while living small in the present. If you seek life change, no need to overhaul everything simultaneously, just elevate one standard, for when one rises, the others follow suit. Here's a challenge for you. Pick one life area needing a bigger vision: finances, health, career, relationships. Where will you raise your standard today? As you embody this higher vision, others will notice, positioning you as a beacon of inspiration for those ensnared by limits. That's principle 9. Your vision influences others. Living a vision-driven life radiates outwardly, even without words. People observe your persistence, how you confront difficulties, your rejection of mediocrity, your elevated standards. Intriguingly, your life becomes tangible proof that vision works. I once met a young man who said, "Jim, I transformed because I watched my father rise from nothing." That father never preached, he lived his vision through hard work, continuous learning, daily discipline, refusing to quit amid hardship, inspiring his son silently. Greatest influence stems from example, not eloquence. By breaking limits, you grant others permission to do likewise, instilling hope where despair reigned, proving dreams attainable. Someone watches you daily, gauging visions worth your change sparks their belief. If they can, so can I. Your vision becomes a torch illuminating paths for others, lifting not just your life but theirs. Not all will grasp immediately, but someday they'll say, "Thanks for not quitting, your perseverance saved mine." Challenge. If influencing someone quietly, what example do you wish them to see? One halted by limits or propelled by vision? Yet a hidden peril lurks. Prolonged limits masquerade as truth, each day under small vision pilfering potential. Thus, principle 10, time is the enemy of small vision. Life's dangerous illusion is I'll start when things improve. Harshly, time favors not small visions accepted. Limits become lifestyles, beliefs even. Inaction shrinks vision, erodes decisiveness, vanishes opportunities, fades futures. I spoke with a 60-year-old regretting I waited lifelong for perfect conditions, but they never arrived. That's life's lingering ache knowing untapped potential. Time offers choices. With big vision, its ally fostering growth, opportunity, energy with small, its thief stealing passion, youth potential. Cease hiding behind when more money, more skills, ready, you'll never ready, sand start. Daily low vision lowers life 1 year same, 3 unchanged, 10 disappointing version. Not from lacking ability, but misusing it. Time queries not dreams, but today's action is now untimely or fear-driven. Challenge, knowing delay steals future pieces. What act today before time claims? But crucially, starting isn't tomorrow or perfect, it's now's decision. Core of principle 11, vision requires action today. Beautiful vision, trembling heart remains dream sands today's action. Talented folks dream big, delay ready then start. Timing right, act opportunities break. Truth right time follows action. Friend said, change when easier. I replied, life won't ease, strengthen. Can't wait, storm past, set out sunless, action declares future belief. May not know how, but no first step. No full life change needed, one small now. Great book, one sentence, big business, one try, healthy body, 10 minutes free, future one saving. Small action repeated yields big result. Daily act, time allies in action, time abandons. Vision, real via action. Not tomorrow now, avoid should have tail prove did. Challenge, smallest right vision action today, do before day ends. Daily vision action shapes unstoppable future, vision sizing life. Part of principle 12, vision defines future size. Life measured not now's have, but future's dare. Wealthy with small future, fear lost, limit reach. Simple folk, no money connections, background, live richest, believing deserve more. Become not wish, but believe become. Vision present size copies today or worsen, stretching beyond reality chases. Great achievements, market-changing business, history-altering leader, self-changing person, begin mind's picture surpassing limits. Limits endure till vision exceeds. Can't choose birth circumstances, but life size. Don't protect fear, pursue vision. Question, decides future, limits define who are, or vision who become. Answer writes life story. Challenge, write biggest 5-year vision, expand fit potential, not shrink present. Now all principles, remains consistent action till mind's future real. Remember, life measure not have, but dare pursue. Vision compass past fear, procrastination, limited self, sand, limit shrink life. Daily choose, limit stay box, vision step deserve future. No one chooses you, start zero, end not. Right vision, daily act, no limits say can't, vision bigger, limits powerless. Principle spoke, like, spread, subscribe, journey, best self, comment, break limit. I'm Jim Rand, believe future bigger today. Life measure become not have. See next video.